Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 cent video for this week, for the week of June 30th to July 6th, and of course, happy 4th of July to everyone out there, especially those who are celebrating America's birthday, whether it's with friends or family, doing barbecue or watching some of the fireworks and everything like that. Hopefully you guys had a wonderful and enjoyable and of course safe 4th of July. And of course a shout out to our fighting men and women in uniform wherever you are, whether it's at home or overseas, so as well. So hopefully all of you had a great 4th of July and all. But basically moving on, we basically have 4 stories to cover this week, including including a person from Windows Central kind of shooting down the rumors about Banjo Kazooie being in development. Nintendo has responded to the questions regarding AI, which has been sort of a controversial topic in terms of game development and everything. Capcom held their showcase, which is the Capcom Next and all. And of course, Nintendo also weighed in on the whole situation around, shortages, especially when their Switch successor or Switch 2 comes out and all. And if you're interested where I got the source of these information, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And timestamps will also be in the description as well, and on this video as well too, if there are certain parts of this video you wish to skip to and all. But before we get started, I like to do what I like to call is the quick My 2 cents, stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details or anything like that. The first one has to do with Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, which came out recently, and according to at least the UK charts, it seemed to have gotten off to a very good start. Supposedly, I think it was at number 1 this week and everything like that, which is not bad for a game that was originally came out for the Nintendo 3DS and all. Now, granted, we'll see how it is next week and everything like that, since, the UK charts and the Famitsu charts they do it every weekly, where the Satana charts here in the US, we do it every month and everything like that. So be very interesting to see where it stands next week and all, but definitely not a bad start for a HD remake or HD remaster, if you like to call it, of Luigi's Mansion 2, or Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon as it was originally called. We also learned about supposedly some new details about the upcoming Crazy Taxi reboot from Sega, which outside of the original people involved in it, that supposedly they're aiming for a massive multiplayer set in sort of a West Coast and everything like that, which is definitely different from the traditional classic Crazy Taxi I think most of us remember in terms of the arcade-like experience and everything like that. Whether this will work or not remains to be seen and everything like that. We know they're working on several other remakes or reboots or super games as they call it, with games like Streets of Rage to the Jet Set Radio series. So whether they could pull this off with this new Crazy Taxi or not kind of remains to be seen at this time. We also learned, according with the UK sale charts, is that Elden Ring has appeared in the top 10, not once but twice. This has to do with the main game being available, and of course the also the DLC that has recently came out that's being available. And obviously that game is still going strong even after being released back in 2002 and everything like that. But still, hats off to From Software and Bandai Namco. That game continues to do extraordinarily well for them. I'm very curious to see if an Elden Ring 2 will happen. I'm pretty sure there may be some pressure on From Software to actually do an Elden Ring 2. Whether that happens or not remains to be seen, but given how well the success of the first game has done, it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility that Elden Ring 2 could actually happen or something like that. We also learned that the head of Mistwalker and everything like that recently was questioned about, made some interesting comments, talking about he isn't interested in revising, old Final Fantasies or some of his old games like Lost Odyssey or Blue Dragon, which is a little bit unfortunate considering the fact during the Nintendo Direct, we know that Fantasian, the Apple Arcade exclusive, my cat's attacking my leg and everything, but the Apple Arcade exclusive is basically coming to the Switch and other platforms as well. And I mean, I'm kind of mixed on this though, and on one hand, I kind of get where he's going with it to a certain degree, but at the same time, I feel like it's a missed opportunity to reach out to a generation that may have missed out when these games originally came out, like porting over Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon. Although, to be fair, it is worth pointing out that Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon are available via, Xbox's backwards compatibility. So it's certainly, I mean, there's a chance. Certainly, it's there if you guys missed out on it and everything like that. But still, I am a little bit mixed on this one. We also learned that Nintendo has recently put out a new trailer for several other games they're putting on the Nintendo Switch's online service. This one is mostly focused on NES games. It's about 7 games that they're added in, including one that was from Japan, a Japanese-only title and all. One of the games that they're putting in, which I think this is just weird, but hey, I'm sure there's an audience for it, was Donkey Kong Math. So it's sort of weird that they're putting it in there, but hey, like I said, probably there's someone out there who remembered playing Donkey Kong Math and enjoyed it though. So obviously, nice that they put these games out though. We'll have to wait and see if we'll see more games come over and everything. I'm hoping to see maybe more, N64 titles that were only released in Japan, to basically even more NES or Super NES or Game Boy. That would be great, or even Sega Genesis as well. Since it's part of Switch's online services and all. We also learned that there is a new tactical RPG based on the anime series Goblin Slayer, which is coming out to the Nintendo Switch earlier this year. From what I've read, at least if I'm reading this correctly, is that it's the same developers that did, I think, the Record of the Lobius War 2D game, I think a couple years ago and all. So that one was pretty fun though. Judging by the trailer that they showed, it does seem to indicate that I definitely get a bit of a Disgaea vibe out of it to a certain degree. So, but still, it's certainly nice for those who are looking forward, who are either a fan of the series or like tactical RPGs in general. Rocky, come on. And finally, last but not least though, the developers who worked on the RoboCop Rogue City is recruiting for an unannounced action RPG project. No word on this time on what that project may be. We don't know if it's another 80s license or something completely different, so it remains to be seen at this time what that title may be. But given how they've handled Terminator, the Terminator game and the recent RoboCop game, I do have some hope for this title, though, so we'll have to wait and see what this title turns out to be and everything. And finally, in the movie and TV show part of our Quick My 2 Cent, we learned that basically George R.R. Martin has apparently teased the possibility that Elden Ring will get an adaptation, whether it's film or TV and all. No word at this time if it's happening or an official announcement and all, but I wouldn't be against it, considering we've seen some movies and TV shows based off of video games that I will say has gotten better compared to where we were back in the 80s and early 90s and early 2000s and all. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that this one based off of Elden Ring could technically work. We also learned that Netflix has put on ice for the time being a TV show based off of Horizon Zero Dawn. The report has sort of come out indicating that it's the person who was in charge of it. There was basically a very toxic working environment and everything like that. No word on whether Netflix is going to continue with this show or not. To be exact though, it's possible Sony may shop around and leave Netflix and try another studio and everything like that, but for now, anyone looking forward to a show based off Horizon Zero Dawn, well, it looks like you're going to have to be waiting a little bit longer. We also learned in an interesting surprise is that apparently Skydance and Paramount have now made a merger agreement and everything like that, which is kind of surprising to a lot of people, considering a couple of weeks ago it was thought to be that the deal was pretty much dead and everything like that. So to see it get revived is kind of interesting. So it'll be very interesting to see if this time around the deal actually goes through or not. Furthermore, we are also hearing reports that apparently there are merger talks to merge Paramount Plus and Max, formerly known as HBO Max, together as one or some sort of bundle and everything like that. We have heard about rumors about that with Paramount and Peacock, but that didn't really go anywhere and all. So it remains to be seen if this one will if anything emerges from these talks or not, at least in terms of the streaming service side of things. So time will ultimately tell whether or not something really comes out of this or not. But the Skydance one, wow, I'm kind of surprised that one got brought back to life and all. And finally, last but not least, we also learned that supposedly the upcoming Deadpool or Wolverine, or formerly known as Deadpool 3, is basically, there's report, at least from the Hollywood Reporter, that the movie is right now on track to make possibly 160 to 165 million on opening day, which, again, depending on exactly what the budget for this film is, I don't know 100% for certain what it is, though, that's not bad in all and everything like that. Judging from what they showed on the trailer so far, I am definitely very curious and definitely looking forward to seeing this one. I enjoyed the first Deadpool movie, not as much as the second one. Not bad, but just not as good as the first one was. But this one, I'm definitely keeping my eye out for this one when it comes out later in July and all. Okay, with the Quick My 2 Cent part now done, along with the movie and TV part of the Quick My 2 Cent video, we'll get started with our first part of this video, and this one has to do with Switch 2, particularly with the scalper situation, everything like that. Now, one of the things we saw during the launch of the Xbox Series X and S, mostly on the Xbox Series X, and of course the PS5 as well, was a situation where we saw with a lot of scalpers, which unfortunately created a tough time for a lot of us who were trying to get our hands on some of these systems, where you had some people who would try to scalp these systems, and try to sell them at outrageous prices on eBay, which made it a bit unfair to those who basically were trying to get their hands on the system and everything like that. This was all happening during the situation with the supply chain, along with COVID being one of those factors playing in as well. And now it does seem to indicate that Nintendo is at the very least trying to address this issue and trying to make sure that there is enough Switch 2 or Switch Successor, or whatever Nintendo calls it, is available during launch and everything like that. In an article from Nintendo Life, this is what they have to say, and I'll give you the official transition from Nintendo that they released. According to the article, it reads, during Nintendo's recent shareholders meeting, the Nintendo president, Shakura Furukawa, if I'm saying the name correctly, touched on the subject that will no doubt be playing on the minds of gamers worldwide as we move closer to the reveal of the Switch successor, Scalpers. Last year, Nintendo already expressed its interest in reducing the number of scalping incidents related to new hardware by simply ensuring that the company produces and ships in numbers that can meet customer demands. At a June shareholder meeting this year, Furukawa reiterated this desire, but critical indicate that the company's shortage issue plagued by gaming industry over the last few years is seemingly no longer affecting Nintendo. Now, this is the official statement or the official translation that Nintendo had provided and everything like that. And this is what the president had to say. Quote, we believe that the most important countermeasure against reselling is to produce enough units to meet demands. This thinking has not changed since last year. In addition, we are taking into account circumstances, if I apologize for that, in each region and considering what measure can be taken within the limits permitted by law. Last year and the year before, we were unable to produce Nintendo Switch hardware in significant quantities due to the semiconductor shortage. That situation has now been resolved. As for the successor to the Nintendo Switch, at present we do not think shortage of compounds will significantly affect production and all. Now, on one hand, that does sound a bit encouraging and everything like that Nintendo is aware of the shortage situation and is trying to address the issue and everything like that. However, on the other hand, it remains to be seen if they're going to be able to address it. It remains to be seen if they are actually going to address it very well once the system comes out and everything like that. I just feel like I'm not 100% sure they're going to and all, because I'm sure scalpers are going to find one way or another to get their hands on the Switch 2 or the Switch successor and flip it and sell it at very outrageous prices, like what we saw with the Xbox Series X and the PS5, mostly with the PS5 in terms of that one selling for like almost up to like $1,000 on eBay and everything like that. So it sounds encouraging, but we'll have to wait and see once the system comes out and what kind of environment we are in terms of when that system comes out. I remember when the Switch came out in 2017, they weren't facing that kind of situation. The Xbox Series X and the PS5 was when those systems came out in 2020. So whether or not they will be able to address it remains to be seen and everything. So overall, I would say what the president of Nintendo is saying is encouraging, but whether or not they can actually be able to address this issue when the system comes out, however, that on the other hand, I feel remains to be seen and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with Capcom hosting their showcase under the title Capcom Next 2024. So we'll take a quick break and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Capcom Showcase, particularly known as Capcom Next 2024 and all. Now, obviously, last month there was a lot of showcase that a lot of these companies done. I think many would argue the big winners were Microsoft with their Xbox Showcase, and of course Nintendo with their Nintendo Direct. Nevertheless, though, Capcom held theirs, and, well, I mean, I won't say there was some neat announcements, but honestly, Rocky, come on, that's my cat, sorry. Honestly, I just feel like this one, I just there wasn't really anything huge or anything big with this announcement. I mean, you could debate how it was done and everything like that, but I wouldn't consider this one like the strongest showcase that I've seen so far. So, I mean, they only really had a couple games that were shown during this showcase and everything like that. What they showed was Kutsin Gama, if I'm saying that name correctly, Path of the Goddess. They showed a little bit more on the gameplay and everything on that one, including that a demo is going to be out. I think it's going to be on the demo's out for every system, including the Xbox, considering this game is coming to Game Pass, and supposedly it will be out July 19th. We saw a bit more of the Dead Rising Deluxe remix and everything like that, and a bit more what they changed with some of the gameplay mechanics a little bit, or updated some of the stuff there, which is certainly nice and everything like that. They definitely had some focus on that one though. And finally, they ended it with 2 Resident Evil announcements. It was announced that basically they are working on a new entry of the Resident Evil series. Resident Evil 9 is what many presumed. And they showed off basically Resident Evil 7 running on the ISO phone and everything like that, which is kind of interesting, or the latest ISO phone, considering the fact that there are reports coming out that the games that were brought to the Mac and everything like that didn't sell as well as a lot of people had thought it would. So kind of interesting that they're bringing this one over and everything. I would say, based off the showcase that they had, out of all the games that were shown, I would say, I mean, the only one that really caught my attention, one I'm definitely looking forward to most, is Path of the Goddess, though. That's really the only one I could think of really as the one that really has caught my attention. Other than that, the other ones, I mean, maybe Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, but outside of that, I mean, I just didn't think this was like a really great showcase. I mean, don't get me wrong, hearing that the next entry of Resident Evil is in the work, and I think that's great and everything like that, but yeah, this one was, I would say this one is sort of forgettable at its best, though. I mean, it wasn't really anything that stood out to me the most. At least that's how I kind of see it and everything like that. So overall, I would say outside of maybe Path of the Goddess and the fact that we're getting the demo and maybe a little bit more into Dead Rising remaster or remake or anything like that, I would say this showcase, at least from Capcom, I personally think, at least in my view, I think it's forgettable and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with Nintendo's response to AI, which has sort of been an issue within like the gaming industry, or at least how gamers feel about in regards of AI and all. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video for this week, and for this one we're going to be taking a look at Nintendo again, but this time in regards to the whole issue with AI. Now, AI has been kind of a tricky little subject for not only the gaming industry but for gamers in general. There have been some concerns ranging from AI maybe stealing art or taking it from places that doesn't belong to them, as we've seen some allegations of that, to it replacing certain people's jobs and everything like that. So there's been some concerns about with AI, but there's also been some who argue there are certain benefits to it though, such as maybe helping with development and everything like that. And I would say I kind of view AI sort of as a double-edged sword. I can see the benefits to it, but I can also understand some of the criticism folks have with AI in general. Well, recently during the shareholders meeting in June, though, there was questions in regards to AI directed towards at Nintendo and everything like that. And supposedly, this is what the president of Nintendo had to say. Again, this is an official translation from Nintendo in general. It says, quote, in the gaming industry, AI-like technology has long been used, for example, to control the movement of opponent characters, so I believe that game development and AI technology has always been a close relationship. Generative AI, which has become a big topic recently, can be used in a creative way, but we recognize that it may also raise issues with intellectual property rights. We have decades of know-how in creating the best gaming experience for our players. While we are open to utilizing technology development, we will work to continue delivering values that is unique to Nintendo and cannot be created by technology alone. So the way I am reading this, at least according to the statement that the president of Nintendo is saying, it does seem to indicate that they're not completely rejecting AI, but they're not, it's basically using it as it's going to replace our developers or anything like that. I kind of feel like that is a bridge too far when it comes to AI. It does seem like to them, it seems like there is a place where AI can be very helpful and very useful, but he's also right in having good old-fashioned handcrafting in terms of creating the kind of game and everything like that by, the talented folks that they have there working at Nintendo and all. So I can understand where the president of Nintendo is going with this, though. Okay, that's my cat. Sorry, he's playing with my amiibo and all. But anyway, I can understand basically where it can be useful the most and where it may not be useful the most. So I do think that the president of Nintendo is definitely onto something with regard to AI in general, at least how I'm reading it and all. So overall, I would say I kind of agree with what the president of Nintendo is saying. I think there is a benefit to AI to a certain degree, but I also think there are certainly some limitations to it, though. And I think that's something that the industry needs to figure out, how to balance AI in the best, where it can be helpful in some parts, but not being the one that's going to completely take over and completely become, they're the ones that are going to develop the game, which I don't really 100% support that kind of approach at all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part, and this one has to do with the whole Banjo Kazooie rumor. And one of the folks who have been hearing about this claims that it's unlikely that the game is in development. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be talking about Banjo Kazooie and all. Now, this is certainly one of Rare's IPs that a lot of Xbox owners would love to have seen, or depending on who you're asking, would like to see a revival though. I mean, seen some cases with Banjo Kazooie nuts bolts, but that's not. From what I understand, that's not fondly remembered as much as, say, Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie and everything like that. Not to mention, Banjo Kazooie has also made an appearance on Rare's Replay and all. So there has been some rumors going around, and back in January, Nate the Hate kind of heard about possibility of some sort of Banjo Kazooie related project being in the works or something as early as like 2023 and everything like that, and it remains to be seen. And there has been some who feel like Toys for Bots could be basically the ideal choice, although they have recently broken away from Activision Blizzard, now owned by Microsoft, although they supposedly signed a deal to work with Microsoft in terms of on a IP or something like that. Well, recently, Windows Central Jez Colton recently weighed in on this as well, and according to at least what he is saying, or at least what he's hearing though, basically it doesn't sound like a Banjo Kazooie game is in development or anything like that. Basically, according to a comment that he made on Xbox 2 podcast last week, this article is from Pure Xbox, stating that Xbox categorically isn't working on a new entry right now. This is the quote that he had to say. Quote, "I can tell you right now, categorically, there is no Banjo game in development as of this podcast on June 26th of 2024. There's no Banjo game in development right now." Now, it is worth pointing out that Jez Colton has sort of a hit and miss on this, and certainly has an interesting track record. So he may be right and wrong, and this certainly is definitely is different than what Nate the Hate on YouTube said back in January, saying there was an active project related to Banjo Kazooie inside of Xbox, but it was greenlit early in 2023, and he also mentioned plans could still change. I mean, is it possible the game may have been canceled or something like that? I mean, that's a possibility, but it's also possible the game is still in development, and just that Microsoft may not be ready to show it or anything like that, though. I mean, I do think that Microsoft should do a Banjo Kazooie game. I mean, I understand Rare is busy doing other things at this point, especially with Edwin, if I'm saying the name correctly, to Sea of Thieves, which seems to be doing very well for them and everything like that. And of course, a lot of the original team that worked at Rare have moved on. They've done Playtonic recently with, Banjo Kazooie and everything like that. So, I mean, not Banjo Kazooie, I mean, Ukulele and everything like that. So, but still, I do think that a Banjo Kazooie game would be a great addition for Microsoft, especially if you're adding some stuff to Game Pass and all. I think it would be nice to add a good 3D platformer to their Xbox and Game Pass ecosystem and all. Now, in terms of finding the right developer, that remains to be seen. It remains to be seen who they can go with. Either go with Toys for Bots or any of the studios that Microsoft has recently purchased, have them handle basically a Banjo Kazooie type of game. If that's true, the question is, can it maintain the style and humor that the first two entries, Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie, have held when those games originally came out back during the N64 days. So it remains to be seen if Banjo Kazooie will see the light of day. Personally, I would like them to do another Banjo Kazooie game. I love 3D platformers and everything like that. So hopefully, maybe one day a Banjo Kazooie game may happen and all. But at least according to Jez Gordon, assuming what he's saying is correct, it doesn't sound like we're going to be seeing one anytime soon, at least for now and all. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts on Nintendo trying to address the scalper situation when the Switch 2 or the Switch successor eventually comes out and all? Do you think they'll be able to address that issue, or do you feel like they probably are going to have a hard time addressing that issue like what we saw with the Xbox Series X and the PS5 back in 2020 when those systems came out though. What are your thoughts about Capcom's next 2024, their Capcom's showcase though? Did you like what they showed at the showcase? Did you not like anything at all? Are you looking forward to any of the very few, I would say, but any of the games that were announced during the showcase at all? What are your thoughts about Nintendo's position on AI in general? Do you think this was the right answer for them to give, though? Do you still have concerns about AI in general in gaming and all? And what are your thoughts about some of the comments about Banjo Kazooie, including the one from Rindle Central, though? Do you believe that a Banjo Kazooie game is probably in the works somewhere out there? Or do you believe that they're not actively developing one at all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal, me, Patreon, or Steve Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, so you'll be watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye.